UFC Fight Night Paris, best underdog picks, boys. You guys know how this goes. Every single episode, I give you 3 of my favorite underdogs for the week, for this weekend. UFC Fight Night Paris, I'm going to be giving you guys my 3 favorite underdog picks, my favorite dog picks, going from my least confident to my most confident. Before we go ahead and get into it, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and let's start it off with the first underdog pick of Rinat Fakhretdinov at plus 100, my least most confident underdog pick of the week, but still a confident underdog pick, plus 100 Rinat Fakhretdinov. This is primarily based on the fact that this guy continuously seems to pay off the judges. He seems to be bribing the judges because the judges will not give Rinat at least one round every fight. Every fight, all the judges give Rinat one round, even if he's lost every single round. Like his last fight against Carlos Leal. He lost that fight. He won by unanimous decision. Makes zero sense. Against Dos Santos, I think that was that the draw? It was a draw, but he lost. And he also he had a split decision as well. He beat Brian Battle. That was an okay win, and he did win that fight. But there was other fights. All of his fights as of late have been close split decisions or robbery unanimous decisions or draws that should have been a loss. It just seems that the judges and the UFC want Rinat Fakhretdinov to win, whether that be because they're getting paid off or because they're in Abu Dhabi. Now they're in Paris. We'll see if this still, travels over and see if the judges are still biased. But at plus 100, you got to put a bit of money on Fakhretdinov because of the fact that, he's got decent grappling. He's got the bias when it comes to the judges' scorecards, and this fight will go the distance. I don't see Gustafsson taking out Fakhretdinov. Fakhretdinov is very tough, very durable. He can get hit, but he's got good takedowns. He's got decent cardio. If he wins round 1 and round 2, or even if he wins round 1 and round 2 is very close, there's a high chance the judges will give it to Fakhretdinov. So I could definitely see a split robbery decision or unanimous robbery decision. I'm going to be praying that Gustafsson wins. I picked Gustafsson. I hope Gustafsson wins, but I do think Fakhretdinov is a solid underdog. You have to put some money on Fakhretdinov, at least by decision, because of the fact and the tail of the tape of how it's been going down with Fakhretdinov in his past recent fights with the decisions. Obviously, it's been in Abu Dhabi a couple times, but it just doesn't make sense. The judges do not want Fakhretdinov to lose, and you got to take plus 100. He's my least confident dog because of the fact that Gustafsson's good. I think Gustafsson can win this fight. I think he should win this fight, but Fakhretdinov is definitely live to get a robbery decision or just squeeze out a couple rounds and get a fair decision. You never know. We move on, though, to my next most confident underdog pick of the weekend for UFC Fight Night Paris, and that's going to be Patricio Pitbull at plus 180. Hossein Keita is coming in as a minus 200 favorite in his UFC debut in front of a live crowd in Paris, a packed crowd in Paris. Paris has the biggest fan base. They're going to be loud. They're going to be chanting. They're going to be cheering. There's a lot of pressure on Hossein Keita. Obviously, he did great in Octagon. He's looked pretty good so far throughout his career. He's young. He's fast. He's hungry. But there's holes in his game. He overcommits. He overswings at times. He can be taken down. He can be held up on the ground. And Pitbull, even though he has been chinned a couple times, he is older. He's 38. He still can get those takedowns like we saw in his last fight against Dan Ige. He's more settled into the UFC now, and he will be more patient than Hossein Keita's other opponents. Most of Hossein Keita's opponents are bad. A lot of his opponents that he's faced are bad in Octagon. And sure, he's double champ, but that's in a completely different organization, and I think UFC is just a different level. We got to know that these new prospects coming in, even though Pitbull was that prospect and was that guy coming in only 2 fights ago against Yair Rodriguez, now he settled himself. Now he knows how the UFC works, what to expect when he's coming in. And in his last fight, he looked pretty good against Dan Ige. And Dan Ige is tough. He throws hard and he throws fast. And Keita is kind of a Dan Ige in a sense where he can be taken down, he can be held down, and he can be tired out. So I could easily see a path to victory for Pitbull where he just takes down Hossein Keita when Keita overcommits, overthrows, gets overzealous, gets too excited. He's going to have the jitters. He's going to be spazzing out a little bit, and he does that in a lot of his fights, and I think Pitbull can capitalize on that. So give me Patricio Pitbull at plus 180. One of my most confident dogs on the card. I think you got to trust in Patricio Pitbull a bit here where he has been chinned before, but he's looked decent. He almost got knocked out by Rodriguez, but he did almost pull off a submission against Rodriguez as well. I could definitely see him finding the neck of Lucien Queta, or at least controlling him on the ground for a lot of this fight, and at least an entire round. I definitely think Pitbull will get a whole round of control time, either round 2 or round 3, and he could win this fight by decision. I'm going to go with Pitbull plus 180 as one of my most confident underdogs at UFC Paris. We're going to move on, though, to my most confident underdog of UFC Paris, my most confident underdog of this entire weekend. And it's got to be the man in the main event, Nasruddin Imavov at plus 110. I can't believe he's the underdog. I can't believe it. So many people can't believe it because it doesn't make sense. You know, Kyle Borralho hasn't fought that best competition. He's been inactive for a year. He's been talking shit all over the internet. He does not stop closing his mouth. All he does is talk. He talked his way into this fight. Imavov didn't even have to take this fight. He's a number 1 contender. He could have waited out for Khamzat Chimaev, waited for the winner of DDP, Khamzat. But no, he let Kaio step in, have to cut weight 3 weeks ago, drain himself. No, 2 weeks ago. Drain himself 2 weeks ago, make weight. And now he has to remake weight for this fight 2 weeks after. While Imavov was training, working his ass off, you know, training in the gym and getting the takedown defense down, getting his striking going, just getting his endurance and his durability going. I think Imavov's been working nonstop, unlike Kyle Borralho, who's been going all over the place to this fight card and this fight card, doing this interview and this interview and this and that and this and that, the stuff for the full violence, the stuff, the interviews at UFC events and stuff with the fighting nerds, going to parties, doing all sorts of stuff besides training and working his ass off like Imavov has been doing. And this is in front of his home crowd in Paris. I don't think he's going to let this one slip. Give me Nasruddin Imavov at plus 110. The line opened up as Imavov as a favorite. It quickly closed to even odds, and now I think Kyle Borralho, who's a minus 110 or minus something like that, or maybe a minus 120. Kyle's become the favorite. I don't understand it. You know, maybe this is a trap, and maybe they're trying to get us to bet on Imavov, and maybe Borralho can grapple his way to a decision, but I don't see it happening. Nasruddin's the better striker. He's got good counter wrestling, good counter grappling. And Kaio has sloppy takedowns. He does. He didn't shoot a single takedown against Cannonier. You know, he beat him on the feet. That's a 40-year-old Cannonier who Imavov KO'd. I know it was a TKO, it was an early stoppage, but he would have finished that fight, guys. Let's just be honest. He was on his way to finish Cannonier, fully flatten him out. Cannonier would have taken way more damage if it had lasted any longer. So Imavov plus 110 in a main event in Paris in front of his home crowd, where he will have the crowd on his side, the judges on his side. I think this goes the distance, and I think we're going to see either a split or a unanimous decision in the main event. I could definitely see a split decision, but I'm going to lean Nasruddin Imavov, unanimous decision, plus 110 as the underdog in this main event. I think you have to take it. Should be a pick'em. It should be Imavov as the favorite, actually, but we're going to take that plus 110 Imavov as my favorite underdog pick at UFC Fight Night Paris. And I didn't do a recap of 2 weeks ago in Shanghai, but Shanghai, we'll just say it. It went to shit. Shanghai was terrible card for me. All the underdogs did not cash. They all lost by decision by just not doing enough in Shanghai, and it was a bad week. But this weekend we're back. We got 3 underdogs as usual. Rinat Fakhretdinov, we got Patricio Pitbull, and Nasruddin Imavov. I'm very confident in all of these guys. We will see. Let me know in the comments down below who your guys' favorite underdog is this weekend, and I will catch you guys in the next one. See you.